Here I'm going through the second round of questions into the free QuizMaker. In a moment, I'm going to make those blanks a consistent length if possible. So here I'm taking each element and asking the test taker for the atomic number, as opposed to giving the atomic number and asking for the element. All of these elements are noble gases, as I said in the last video. And I'm making the second question by duplicating the first one and altering it. So finally we've made it to radon, which will be the last of the atomic number questions, and then I'll add a few more. For one thing, I want to show the multiple response question feature and this true-false question feature. Now there I've added atomic number 118 for organocin, which is not really a noble gas. So I just corrected the typo for the other organocin question. Now multiple responses. Check all elements that are noble gases. That's easy enough. So helium, neon. You notice, just like with the multiple choice questions, you mark the correct answers and then you don't mark the incorrect answers. The difference with the multiple response questions is that you have the little checkbox there instead of the button. So there we put in all the noble gases, and now we'll put in some stuff that's not. So organocin is most obvious, but then also some gases that people think of as kind of harmless, which are in fact quite reactive and potentially quite dangerous, actually. Hydrogen is maybe the most unnoble gas of them all, of course. And now I have to use my imagination a little bit here because I want to go beyond 4 wrong answers. Butane. People know about that one, but of course it's reactive, of course. That's the whole use of butane as a fuel. Butane also isn't an element, but an organic compound. Noble gases are, this is a true-false question you can see below, noble because they are reactive and therefore reasonably safe to handle. So this would be a false, but I've decided that this will actually be not the non-reactive one, and then I'll duplicate this. Now, of course, you can shuffle the order of these questions, because you could argue that this test as it is too predictable and would be too easy to take, but I'm going to make the program shuffle them, as you'll see when I set up the settings there. You can see the settings up on the left. Those settings refer to the settings of the test, not really the app. I don't think that the settings of the app are variable. So I rewrote this a few times because I wanted to word it just right. Instead of reasonably, I say relatively. To make the parenthetical disclaimer part of the sentence. I'm not an expert chemist, but this is what I was taught, certainly. These questions arguably are 8th grade level questions. They're not anything more advanced than that. So you don't want to mess around with pedantry at this level, in my opinion. When I was in school, that was one of the mistakes that a lot of teachers in all fields would make, is that they would use language that was not comprehensible, and therefore it was ineffective for teaching. So there's the false question. You see, exactly the same, but reactive instead of non-reactive. And then another one. Organicism was the most recent noble gas to be discovered, which is false because it's not a noble gas. Another one. Of course, I don't know if I'm pronouncing Organicin right. I've never heard of it before, and my understanding is it was only discovered a few years ago. And as I said, I'm not really a chemist, so radon was the most recent noble gas to be discovered. According to the research I did, this is true, so that's going to be a true question. If somebody knows better, correct me so I can fix my test. And then, of course, this is a false one, as far as I know. And I'm brainstorming for a 20th question here. Decided to make it 20 questions in total. Halon, there we go. Halon is a noble gas. Halon isn't even an element, so that's an ideal false question. And while I was at it, I decided to add halon to this list under the incorrect answers. Why not? Because a lot of people think of halon as a noble gas, because it's used for firefighting. But it's not a noble gas, and it's actually, again, not an element. But it's not even one chemical. It's actually a category of chemical, as I understand it. I'm probably getting my terminology wrong here, but the point is it's certainly not a noble gas. So then you have the preview feature. I use this far more than I use the publish feature, but I'll show you the publish feature. First of all, it tells me to update because I'm using version 6.0.1 instead of 6.2. I later did update it, but I decided to do this video about 6.01. So you can create a learning management system version of the test, a Microsoft Word version of the test, or you can create the Shockwave Flash version. I'll show you how that works in a moment. But this is the settings menu. So I changed the title. I'm going to stick with the passing score of 65. I examined this very carefully because I was trying to make it reasonably plausible in terms of difficulty. Partial answer I should have because of the multiple response question. It just seems like a more fair way of setting up a test. Harder, of course, if you don't do that, but arguably it's not the best in the way of teaching or analysis of a student's capability. So anyway, I got to go to the next part because I'm out of time.